Okay, we are going to find the volume of prisms. The volume is how much space something takes up, three-dimensional object, how much space it takes up. And the two types of prisms we're going to concentrate on today are the rectangular prism and the triangular prism. So to find the volume of a prism, is the area of the base times the height. So capital B is the area of the base times the height. And if it's laying outside, we might call that the length. So let's start with a rectangular prism. Rectangular prism is basically a box. So to find the area of a rectangular prism, you need three dimensions. You need the length, width, and height. So let's say that this one was 10 inches by 8 inches by 6 inches tall. Okay, so the area of the base. The base is a rectangle. Area of a rectangle is length times width. So that would be 10 times 8, which is 80. Then you multiply that times your height times 6, and we get 480 cubic inches. Since this is volume, the answer is in cubic units, in this case cubic inches. Okay. Now, if it's a rectangular prism, you can just say it's length times width times height. Because the length times width is the area of the base. But this actually works for any sort of prism. And we can apply that to other types of prisms as well, which we'll do in a minute. But first, let's look at a second rectangular prism. This time, let's say that the base is 2.5 inches. The width is 2.5 inches, so the length, the width, and the height is 2 inches. So to find the area, we're going to multiply 2.5 times 2.5, which is the area of the base, times the height, which is 2. So 2.5 times 2.5 times 2 gives us a volume of 12.5 cubic inches. Okay, now, area of rectangular prisms is not usually very tricky for students, but when you get into the triangular ones, that's where it's a little bit trickier. So let's look at one of those. So a triangular prism has as the base a triangle. And in this case, the height, or since it's laying on its side, we'll call that the length, is along here. So let's put some numbers here. Let's say that this is 3 inches this way. Let's say the height is also 3 inches and a length of 10 inches. So the first thing we need to do is the area of the base. So the base is a triangle. So how do we find the area of a triangle? The area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2, or 1/2 the base times the height. So in this case, that would be 3 times 3 divided by 2, which is 9 divided by 2, which is 4.5. or 4.5. Now we need to multiply that times the length, which is 10. That equals 45. So that would be 45 cubic inches. So the most important part to remember is when you're doing the area of the base, it's important to remember what shape you're dealing with. If it's a rectangle, that would be length times width, then times your height. If it is a triangle, triangular prism, that's 1/2 with the base times the height, or the base times height divided by 2, and then multiply by your length of your triangular prism. It can get a little tricky. Just got to remember which shape you're doing. That's how you do the volume of prisms.